Okay, and we're gonna start in 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so hello there, my name is Madeline Liu. I am the founder and illustrator behind Notebeans Stationery, an art and stationery brand that aims to bridge creative culture and humanitarian causes. But basically, I've been doing digital art for about 2 years, and I've ran and operated Notebeans Stationery, which is kind of my hobby slash business. And one of the pain points that I've actually recently heard from a mutual friend of mine is that I guess like as an artist, once we peel back a lot of these layers, a lot of these insecurities, a lot of these things that actually hold us back from creating amazing things, we truly can feel comfortable in our own skin and in our own pen, in our own creative vision and creative voice on how we want to express that. So he asked me a really interesting question, actually. He asked me, do you actually still face these insecurities? Do you face these pain points, such as finding your art style, such as not feeling good enough, feeling imposter syndrome? Do you still face them, right? Because it doesn't show as prominently and I don't really talk about it as much, right? But what I told him as my answer was, yes, of course I do. And I think as creatives, it's almost inevitable to feel like we need to create original content. We need to create, original pieces and artwork, especially as artists. But in actuality, like we take inspiration and use our role models' work, to kind of shape and create a remix of something new to add into the conversation of the space that we're a part of. For us, that's the art community. We see it a lot with, artists that people take, inspiration to do art studies from, like Leyendecker, or Sam Does Art, Sam Yang, right? Or Ross Draws. And so I think it's just really important to know. So here essentially are going to be 4 art lessons that I felt like I learned as a digital artist, more perspectives, I would say, that really progressed me into the perspective and position that I have now in terms of my skill, my mindset, and my internal and intrinsic satisfaction with the art that I create as a digital artist. All right, so number 1, the first thing that I learned as a digital artist is that you don't need to have or find a fixed art style. I think this is a common misconception that a lot of younger, less seasoned artists, including myself back then, really thought, and kind of really forced ourselves into that mindset that, I need to find an art style I like. Is it with line art? Is it not with line art? Do I do simple shading or do I do, hyper realistic shading? And the truth is, like, whatever you create is yours, right? And so you should be able to experiment and try whatever you like, and that should be okay, right? And so the second lesson that I felt like I learned as a digital artist is that there is an extremely amazingly supportive and inspiring art community on Instagram and YouTube if you choose to engage and encourage with them. So what I mean by this is it's easy to see people as competition, right? This person has X more followers than me. This person has so much engagement on their stuff. They only post like once a month and they go on hiatus and then post again and then like they'll blow up, right? But these are vanity metrics, right? And it's really important to be able to see these people in your community space as your colleagues, not your competition, right? And I think once you can start seeing it as a community and engage in the community, right? Genuinely commenting on people's stuff, taking part in art challenges, which is a really great way to also, facilitate your growth as an artist in terms of repetition and, getting the quantity in before you can even see the quality come through. I think taking advantage of this amazing and supportive community, highly positive community in the artist space on Instagram and YouTube is really beneficial, but only if you choose to see it that way. A big challenge for me that really facilitated everything was actually Peachtober. It was by Little Fuzzy Peach, I think. I'm gonna put the name here to correct it, but I partook in it during the first year that I got into digital art, and I just did, 30 days of the prompts that she put out at the time, and it actually really helped me build my technical skill as a digital artist, but it also, got my account name out there a little bit more, and I ended up realizing that there was a huge community on Instagram, of people saying a lot of pleasant and nice supportive things and focusing on that internal journey of other artists as well. So it was truly an amazing experience, and I've honestly met so many amazing people that have really facilitated my journey as an artist, as a business, and just as a creative entrepreneur, honestly. I think it's truly amazing. And so the third lesson that I wanted to touch upon is that intentional practices and art studies / learning from your masters will kind of progress your journey very exponentially. So I think, especially for a lot of digital artists, like nowadays, I think not everyone comes from a traditional background of art education, right? Like really expensive art education from a school or institution, right? A lot of us learn from YouTube, we learn from, Instagram videos, I don't use TikTok as much, but let's say TikTok, or you learn from someone's Patreon, right? But that first step really is to find someone both 1 step ahead of you and 10 steps ahead of you, and learn to use their pieces not only as inspiration, but try to dissect, what you like about those pieces, right? Like, what do you notice? And a really good framework for this, for me at least, was to use the mindset and the, paradigms of the art fundamentals, right? So when you learn more about things like line work, composition, colors, values, right? And you start noticing these things in the masters that you admire, and you isolate those factors, right? Like, what if I only looked at the composition of like Leindecker's pieces, right? What do I notice? Or of, Loish art. I love her artwork so much, right? I follow her Patreon, and what if you just notice, the composition of her pieces? Do you notice a story being told from that, right? And whether or not you got it spot on and that's what the artist is trying to do, or it's something they do just subconsciously, from their knowledge and practice and experience with art, I think it's a really valuable way to just learn in a very fun way, because you probably already love looking at the artists that you look up to, and what better way to kind of like implement some of the parts that you love about their artwork, right, than selectively putting your attention and kind of selecting out, right, the things that you notice. And so obviously for professional artists and digital artists, like, they don't look to maybe like, they'll probably look to their colleagues, which is 1 step ahead, but the 10 steps ahead note was referring to the masters of like art history, right? And so I'll put a few here that I've kind of like looked at before, and ones that I actually want to explore, but I think it's a really valuable way. And for me personally, when I started taking Patreon courses essentially, or subscribing to the Patreon of Sam Does Art, Sam Yang, I definitely realized and learned that there was so much more for me to grow in, and I really implemented everything despite having a totally, different style and aesthetic, and, my art focusing on like the created characters I have as opposed to like, Pinterest girls like him. It really helped me really expedite my art journey, right? We don't have to reinvent the wheel. And so the fourth lesson that I kind of wanted to touch upon was that you are enough always, and just honestly enjoy the art journey and just celebrate the fact that you've come this far. And this one's very cliche, and I think, we all know this, right? Deep down we know, but it's a really important reminder, because truly the artist journey of like iterating on what you could improve on, what you liked, what you didn't like about your piece, what you want to focus on next, right? And also not using the vanity metrics that social media has kind of conditioned our brains to like, accept the dopamine and keep going on that, right? Like being able to independently love what you do and being able to create at the cost and the benefit of zero, right? I think that's something that's so beautiful, and the fact that art hopefully is something that fills your life cup, whether it's your job or your hobby. I hope that you remember that you're enough. You will always be enough, and you don't need more followers, you don't need more likes, you don't also need to do pursue an art education or anything like that, or climb up this ladder of becoming the best artist, because really for all artists it's a long-term journey, and we're all in it for the long term, for the most part, at least for myself. And so pretty much those are the 4 lessons that I kind of wanted to share. This video is kind of also a way for me to kind of kickstart me creating videos, and I'm definitely really passionate about helping other artists try to develop their creative voice. I've learned a lot in my experience, and I think I still have so much more to go, especially with the ways that I've learned it and, you know, doing all of this just kind of on the side. But yeah, I hope this was helpful to you. If it was, please let me know in the comments, like, what is one perspective that you've had as an artist, a digital artist, or a creative entrepreneur even, that really helped you facilitate in your career, in this passion project of yours, or in your art technical skill. I'm really curious to see, because I know everyone has a totally different experience with art, totally different relationship with art, you know, mentally, spiritually, whatever it might be for you. So yeah, but basically that's kind of it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope to be able to create more content. I'm going to try to upload every Saturday or Sunday, so we shall see. But feel free to check out Notebeans Stationery on Instagram. I'm going to leave it in the description as well. So yeah, hope you have an amazing day. Bye bye.